Remember when in my last video I said, Lego City? I even bought it on Steam, even though my computer can't run it. Well, since then, I've bought a new computer, and you can bet your bottom dollar that it was one of the first things I downloaded. Not only to play it and record the footage you're seeing now, but also to investigate the files of the game. I've always wondered if there's any cut content, and as it turns out, there is. Tons. And some of these findings have never been documented before. Here we are 10 years later, still playing it and finding new things. Yeah, it's the 10-year anniversary of the game. To the very day I uploaded this video. Without further ado, let's get started. Each character in the game is supposed to have a TXT file and a CD file. The latter lists all the data for the animations and the appearance of the character, while the former is for gameplay attributes such as jump height and run speed. If a character is missing a TXT file, it either means they're a cutscene only character or they're unused. Cop Undercover seems to be a version of Chase McCain from after E3 2011 because of the updated face, but before E3 2012 because of the hairpiece. The only other difference is his animations. As for that original design of Chase, unfortunately there's only a few leftover textures from it. I think the character file was long replaced by the time of the game's release. Buddy Police and Civilian Buddy seem to be early designs for the second player. Both also have an associated icon, so they must have been cut late in development. It might also be possible that these designs are left over from when multiplayer was going to be in the Wii U version. As for the 3DS game, almost every character that was exclusive to the Chase Begins are in the files of the remaster. One reason for this could be that the cutscenes from the 3DS game were rendered in the main engine. Objects and scripts from those cutscenes are left over as well. It doesn't explain why a character like Intern Honey, who doesn't appear in any of the 3DS cutscenes, is still here. Nevertheless, it's really cool to see these characters in high resolution. NPC Harbor Cop 1 and 2 are unused and are notable because they have leather jacket designs that no other characters use in the final game. There are 22 vehicle categories in the internal files, but a lot of them got merged together in gameplay. There are two categories in the list that can't be spawned by the player: Naval and Novelty. The Novelty vehicle category includes vehicles that are used for puzzles, such as the Buffer. The Wash Wagon is in this category, so it's the only novelty vehicle that is spawnable. An unused vehicle in this category is called the Bog, which is a toilet go-kart. It's really easy to mod it back in just by editing the traffic list, and it's fully playable. If you turn on Nitrous for All, it could even boost. Nah, I'm just kidding, it doesn't make that sound. I wish. The Natalia car chase cutscene has a school bus in the background, but there's no school bus in-game. And since the cutscene is pre-rendered, there's no model of it in the files. The only reference to it are a couple of text files. However, the same school bus can be found in LEGO Batman 2, as that game actually shares some vehicles with Undercover. Aircraft underscore elephant is an airplane from the airport. I modded it back in, but it drives like a regular vehicle, so it's really hard to drive anywhere with it. I'm guessing that it was cut because it would have needed to control differently from the other aircrafts, which are all helicopters, and that it's big. Landing anywhere else other than the airport is impossible. Next to the heli and car drop point icons is an unused boat icon. There's also an icon for an police boat. These suggest that boats were originally meant to be spawnable by the player. There was quite a few unused boats, and I was able to mod some of them back into the game just by adding them to the traffic list. Rub-a-dub is a small rowboat that even has a logo and working animations. The Tragedy is a canoe. It has a model and it has code, but it's unplayable, hence why you're only seeing the model. The Garbage Scow is used in the Natalia Ninja cutscene, but when I added it to the traffic list, I couldn't find it anywhere. Until I just found it lying around for some reason. You can sit in it, but that's about it. The Hauler is a fully playable boat that is used in the cutscene after the Space Center. This actually kind of makes sense because it's essentially played by an NPC. There are logos for some of these unused vehicles that can only be found in the portfolios of Becky Ballantyne and Dan Nuttall. They're both illustrators that worked on the game. For example, the Tragedy. There's no logo of it in the files, but it's in Becky Ballantyne's portfolio. Both of their portfolios are really amazing to look at. They even have concept art in them, so I highly recommend checking them out. Links in the description. There are about 20 test levels left over in the game. LCU Modding has showcased most of these on their YouTube channel, so I recommend checking them out for a more in-depth look at them. Game Mechanics Test Area. This map is pretty much what it says on the tin. There's a bunch of doors and switches and stuff for testing the mechanics of the game. The aesthetics of the level are interesting to me, because in the 2011 version of LEGO City that's left over in Batman 2, it looks like it connects to the police station. Sorry, that was a loaded sentence. There's more context in my last video. The background of the box art exists in the files of the game as a level. Here's some footage of it by LCU Modding. There are a few levels that are just mentioned in the levels.txt file and don't have any other data. One of them is called is_delfino_2810. IS is a prefix used for Space Center and Albatross Island. Was Delfino going to be another island of the map? Isle Delfino Super Mario Sunshine? Levels.txt also references something called Police Station Parkour Chambers. Maybe it's a cut floor of the police station? Speaking of the police station, there are quite a few things that are unused in it. The txt file lists the buffer as being in the lobby, so I'm guessing there was going to be a buffer minigame. Frank Honey has some unused dialogue relating to this.
Ooh, sparkly! The floor looks so clean I could eat my dinner off of it and not get really ill this time. Which, by the way, is how those stains got there in the first place.
There's another unused puzzle in the police station with B. Heckerson, the secretary. There is leftover dialogue and code for this mission.
If that flower isn't back in my vase by the time I count to 5, then I'll continue to 10. But then, oh, there will be trouble. Why won't anyone get me another flower? I am a warm, lovable person who deserves a flower now! I want whoever stole the flower from my desk to return it. That means you, Chase McCain. Well, it looked nicer this morning when Chief Dumby gave it to me. Now there's a man you could learn from. He arrested Rex Fury, you know.
You're welcome.
I'm watching you, McCain.
Here is a set of early icons in a folder titled Character Wheel Portrait. Only the police, construction, and firefighter designs were seen at E3 2011, so it's interesting to see the other disguises from that stage of development. In addition to this set, there's another set of designs which seem to be from later in the development process. From here we can start to see it get closer to the final game, even a transition or timeline of sorts. If you look at the little bit of the torso that's visible in this icon, we can see that the torso actually ends up being used for this second player civilian outfit. The early cop chase icon is used as a placeholder for a lot of icons, even though there is a perfectly fine placeholder image. The textures of the minimap HUD is still in the game files. The placeholder map is of downtown, even in the original screenshot. Two other early map textures exist. Another one of downtown, and this one of the entire map, although the right side is unfinished. Here is an early mock-up of the gamepad screen. This is how the texture looks, and this is how it's supposed to look. In the same folder, there is this texture of an Ellie call, and she has an early design. That design matches this icon, which looks like it would have been used as a hint symbol like in the other LEGO games. The loading screens from the E3 2012 show floor demo are still in the files. Feel free to pause and read them, it's really neat to see these in full quality. These two loading screens, however, are completely unused, and have a 2D comic art style that are similar, and probably inspired from, the GTA loading screens. Nestled away in the Stuff folder, yep, that's the real name of the folder, is this Harry Potter save icon. This, along with other leftover text files from LEGO Harry Potter and LEGO Batman, really show that when the game started development in 2010, it was off the heels of those games. That's not the only image relating to LEGO Harry Potter, however. In the textures of the police station, I found this texture called Wanted Papers 01 RP, and it would be a cool Easter egg if I could find it anywhere. As far as I can tell, there's no way to see it in-game. There are around 10 side missions that aren't in the final game. Some were more further along in development than others, like a Crazy Taxi style mission called Frantic Fares. It has code, a lot of UI, a map icon, and a ton of dialogue for the customers, in multiple languages.
Paradise Sands and step on it.
A Paradise Sands y dele caña.
So it must have been cut really late in development. The Hectic Harvest and Alien Abduction missions also seem to be cut late since they also have dialogue left over.
Well, this ain't the most conventional way of herding up animals, but it's worth a try. I hope you've had flying saucer driving lessons.
LCU Modding was even able to make prototypes of these missions. That just shows how close they were to being done. Based on this icon and an unfinished script, a head-to-head style race mission was cut from the game. However, those style of races do end up in the 3DS version. Speed Round, Firefighters, Breakdown Bonanza, Rapid Repair, and Paramedic Panic all have scripts, map icons, and text strings. Lastly, there is the Limo, Baggage Handler, and Pizza Delivery mission icons, but no code is left over for them. There were going to be 15 RC challenges to complete that were scattered around the city. But in the final game, RC cars are just used for puzzles and aren't their own objective. Air stunts were points on the map that were like crash mats, except that when you exited a helicopter over it, it would initiate a skydive. A few texturings in the game reference DLC, not just for the remaster, but for the Wii U as well. There aren't any textures or assets that show what the add-on content would have looked like, so I'm not sure if the text was written just in case or if it was actually planned at some point. But either way, it's a shame we never got to see it. One of the most baffling changes in the remaster was the removal of the cutscene viewer. But is it possible to mod it back into the game? I'm not sure. The textures and scripts for it are still in the files, but I have no idea how to get it to work. I'm not even sure how or why it was removed in the first place. Despite this, I was able to fix something about one cutscene. The briefing room cutscene. There are unused models of the names of the officers in that scene. They were meant to appear when the screen pauses on each of them, but they're striked out of the script and don't load in. What if I just unmarked them?
Briefing room! 1 minute! Come on, settle down, people.
It works just like that. All the names show up correctly. Why did they remove it in the first place? One reason could be localization. In other languages, the names would have to be remodeled, so they just scrapped it altogether. Or maybe they striked it out for the international release and forgot to unmark it for the English release. But that's just a theory. But we're not done. There's more tidbits about this scene. Among the slides in the briefing, there's actually an unused slide. It was going to be in between Not So Secret Identity and Chief Dumby Glory. Here it is. It's titled Fraud Charge. This makes Rex Fury a way scarier villain because it confirms that not only does Rex Fury steal, he also commits tax fraud. Looking at the text strings of the dialogue, there's a gap in the same place. I wonder what was going to be said there. Do you remember that scene where you get the undercover disguise? Isn't it weird? I thought it was odd how you get teleported to an in-game cutscene with no gameplay. It could have been a cinematic cutscene instead. While looking at this cut dialogue, I think it implies that it originally was going to be playable.
Anyway, Chase is going undercover. He'll need new clothes.
Well, congratulations, Chase.
Anyway, Chase is going undercover. He'll need new clothes.
Well, congratulations, Chase.
Thanks. So, do we have anything which is a little less policey?
Sure. Check the closet over there. Sure. Check the closet down in the gym. Sure. Check the closet down in the locker room.
The dialogue implies that you were originally going to get the undercover disguise by going to the disguise booth downstairs instead of through the cutscene. I also note the alternate takes for the location. This happens in other voice clips as well, which could mean that by the time that they were recording, the downstairs area wasn't settled on yet. There's a ton, like thousands of dialogue for pedestrians. Each type of pedestrian has different lines too. Technically they're all used, but there's so many I think it's impossible to hear them all. Here's an unused conversation between Frank and Chief Dumby. Because of the file name, it seems like it would have played in the first bank mission.
Frank,
Yes, Chief?
if by some fluke of chance you manage to catch up with the robber, I want you to take him out immediately.
You want me to date him? Oh, right. Actually, I've blocked 4th Street with my car.
That better be so the robber can't escape through it.
Not in a coffee shop.
Did you want cream in that?
Get out of my car, lady!
I don't know why we still trust you with vehicles, honey.
I'm surprised too, especially after I drove that fire engine into the mayor's house. Do you remember that, Chief?
Yes, I remember all the vehicles you've crashed into the mayor's house. Ugh. Just bring me back some donuts from the coffee shop you're not in.
I don't know what you're talking about. Pear Claws or Cinnamon Apple?
It seems like it would be a call you would have heard on your way to the bank, but it was probably removed because it was too long for the actual time it takes to drive there. As for unused music, there is one track called Mine Ambience 01, which is an alternate version of the Bluebell Mine theme with the melody of the dojo. Similarly to the characters that were exclusive to The Chase Begins, music tracks that were exclusive to it are also left over in the remaster, in high quality.
Lego City. The greatest city in the world.
One piece of music that is technically unused is the main menu music. Let me explain. In the game, it's just a short loop, but there exists an extended version that can be heard in this trailer.
Hi there. I'm Chase.
Nice to meet you, Chase McCain.
Chase McCain?
Chase?
Chase McCain, do not disturb me!
We've got conflicting reports about which building the robbers are in now.
As you just heard, there's a whole intro part before it gets into the section we hear in the game. Fortunately, I was able to find the full raw menu music in Paul Weir's portfolio. Head over there and take a listen when you can. Another track that's not in the files of the game is this one called Harbor Police by Simon Withenshaw, which can be found on his SoundCloud. Apparently it was a demo track that didn't end up in the final game. Given the title, it might be related to the Harbor Cop characters I showed way back at the start of the video. And that's everything that I wanted to showcase in this video. There's still a lot more content in the game, so I'll be adding everything else I found to the LEGO City Undercover page on the cutting room floor. I think it's incredible all this unused content exists, in the remaster no less. Does the Wii U version have more? I won't be the one to find out. All this unused content shows that even with the game's 3-year development cycle, things still had to be scrapped and changed to get the game out on time. I have no doubt that the development was tough for TT Fusion, but I'm glad the heart came all the way through to the final product, which I'm still enjoying 10 years later. Thanks for watching, and see ya.